Before Cult of the Lamb built its flock of followers, before Dave the Diver made such a big splash, there was Moonlighter, a cozy roguelite that quietly introduced a two-part gameplay loop. By day, you're a shopkeeping merchant. By night, a dungeon diving hero. Whether you play it safe or risk it all will be up to you. I'm not that familiar with roguelites, but Moonlighter had me hooked. And with the sequel just around the corner, I finally went back to finish it. So this is my retrospective review of Moonlighter. Now, Moonlighter is not your standard run-of-the-mill roguelite, primarily because of that same cozy yet chaotic two-part gameplay loop. During the day, you manage your store, ensuring items are priced fairly, making sales, and chasing away would-be thieves. Or birds? But at night, you're diving into the dark recesses of these mysterious dungeons, looking for artifacts to restock your shelves. And after spending about 25 hours in Moonlighter, I can safely say it feels like a really refreshing and unique experience. Oh, and as previously mentioned, this double life mechanic actually predates some of the more modern titles that were thought to have popularized it. When it comes to story, Moonlighter is pretty light touch. It won't be the main attraction for most people, myself included. You play as Will, a young man who's just inherited a shop called Moonlighter. A story that channels that Stardew Valley energy, which carries over into the shop management side of things. When the sun goes down though, so do you. Down into the dungeons that is, where you risk life and limb fighting monsters and navigating hazards in your search for valuable loot. Loot that's conveniently used to restock the shelves of your newly inherited store. There's not a huge amount of dialogue here, and the character conversations are generally pretty brief, but it does give you an idea of where things stand. There's also obviously tropes and ideas borrowed from other games, but if you're only keen for a rich story experience like Final Fantasy Tactics or something, this probably isn't for you. Having said that, there is some world building and interesting ideas that help to keep you engaged, but again, it's pretty bare bones. Personally, I found it interesting, but it doesn't really go anywhere. Do keep in mind though that the sequel is coming and there may be more story depth in that. Moving on to visuals, let's be completely honest. The game is pixel art, so as long as you're not too fussed about that and don't come in expecting some hyper-realistic graphics, you'll have a good time. Fortunately, as a result of this, the game will basically run on anything more powerful than a potato, and shouldn't take up more than a couple gigs of storage. Super handy for those of you that have a Steam Deck or ROG Ally or a Switch. In terms of the overall art design, I think they've really nailed it here. It manages to be unique in its own right, yet varied throughout each of the dungeons. Enemies are visually consistent, but have their own distinguishing features too. Admittedly, I've never been a hardcore pixel art purist, but I have always appreciated the skill and style of it. With its stylistic pixelated art style, Moonlighter definitely has a lot of genuine charm, and as a result, it's much more kid-friendly too, in case that's a factor. I've always found that pixel art has this really endearing quality about it. An earnest allure that's cute and cozy and just embodies that sense of childlike wonder. The character sprites are also deceptively expressive and are a great addition to an already delightful aesthetic and feel. In my opinion, the art style is definitely a selling point for this sort of game. Granted, the sequel does seem to be adopting a more 3D isometric look, the original still benefits immensely from this 2D pixel art style. Hey, if you're enjoying this breakdown so far, consider subscribing. I do regular retrospective reviews to find out whether games are still worth playing today, and it'd be awesome to have you along for the ride. There is a really nice soundtrack spread throughout. I mean, it is pretty subtle, but I think the game really benefits from this, because it doesn't overshadow the rest of the experience. Now, I wouldn't say any tracks are super memorable, and I won't be adding any to my own playlist anytime soon, but the themes are really nice to have playing in the background, especially as you're grinding away. My favourite theme definitely has to be the in-town theme though. There's just this sense of wonder or nostalgia to it. You can definitely see why it was chosen as the game's main track. And not only does each dungeon have its own theme and style, but each level within those dungeons too. There's also a real personality to each floor, and it gets more intense the deeper you go. The variety of music in each of them is also a highlight and shows how much thought went into the game. I guess it makes sense considering how much time you'll end up spending down there. Again though, none of it is in your face, and it just does a really nice job setting the tone and feel. Now, gameplay. The game's core conceit is built around its beautifully simple and adorably addictive two-part gameplay loop. A loop that is combined surprisingly well in a really cohesive experience, one that constantly fuels back into itself. Shopkeeping is basically a shop management sim, where you stock shelves and set prices. Customers will come by and react to the prices you set, to let you know how in tune with the market you are. Set them too high and the artifact doesn't sell. Set them too low and you're missing out on extra gold. There's also shop upgrades and decorations that can give different buffs, from improving the store's patron capacity to increasing the size of customer tips. Add in the thieves that try to rob you blind, or these chaotic birds for some reason, and you've got yourself a great little strategy game. Now, the second part, the dungeon diving. The combat mechanics aren't too complex. You're basically just avoiding enemy attacks and finding openings to make your own. You can equip 2 weapon types at any one time, choosing from a selection of 5 different types. Each type has 2 upgrade paths available, offering a quick attack and charge attack. There's 4 main dungeons to explore, each with 3 levels. Each floor has a number of procedurally generated rooms, filled with a variety of different enemies. Naturally, they get tougher the deeper you go, and I believe are also randomly generated. The loot you pick up is also randomized, but gets more valuable the further down you venture. The first 2 levels ends with a mini-boss, and the third ends with a final guardian. Some are obviously harder than others, but it's a pretty entertaining loop overall. And considering death means losing most of your loot, there's this tense risk versus reward scenario inherent in the gameplay. Adding in on top of this a random ghost spirit encounter that you can't kill and shows up if you spent too long exploring, and there's a real urgency that pushes you on. Within the dungeon loop as well, there's also a sort of inventory management aspect. Certain artifacts you pick up will have curses that have ill or positive effects. For example, one curse might destroy items it's pointing to upon returning to town, or this one that will duplicate the original cursed item, and another that will send items back to your stash at the shop, giving you extra space for more loot. It's this clever little mechanic that can really boost or hurt your run if you're not careful. Overall though, the change of pace between the 2 core loops is a great way to keep things fresh. As the player, you get the option to choose which activity to replay without any real detriment. But I do just think it's a great idea in terms of design, because you're not forced into something you might not be in the mood for, as long as you have enough loot to sell, that is. Moonlighter isn't perfect. It doesn't have the deepest progression or complex combat mechanics, and the latter part of the game can start to feel repetitive. But what's on offer should be enough to keep you entertained over the course of a particularly dull afternoon. Moonlighter is a great little package. This unassuming little gem offers an adorable art style, has an interesting soundtrack, and an earnest yet addictive gameplay loop. There's a good amount of variety on offer, and even though it's not super deep, this is a respectable experience, especially with the New Game Plus mode and a DLC available. Moonlighter is a great way to spend a weekend or 2 playing through, especially in the lead up to the sequel's release, which does appear to have an endless mode, at least based on the title. And if you have a handheld PC or Switch, this could be an excellent way to pass some time, especially on those long commutes or whilst traveling or before bed. Moonlighter is, in my honest opinion, still worth playing today. If you've managed to sit through this whole video, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to let me know what else you'd like to see in the comments. Hopefully, I'll catch you in the next one.